Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the first Q&A that I'm doing on my channel. I'm so glad you guys sent in all your questions. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I figured it was just about time. I had enough subscribers. This is something that I've been wanting to do, where we can talk and just get to know each other, because I do encourage discussion on any of my videos, and I like to talk about all things movies or anything like that. So I asked you guys to send in questions about whatever you wanted, and that's what we're going to be going over today. I got them on my phone, and that's what we're going to be looking at, so let's get started. With the first question, Superman Fanboy asks, do you like anime? If yes, then what's your favorite? I don't have like any aversion to anime or anything like that. I'm just not currently into anything, that's for sure. It's more or less I just don't have time to really get into television, like series. They're just so time consuming and draining, so I mostly just watch movies. But when I was younger, and I know these are mainstream animes, I wish I could tell you I like all of these like obscure, really cool animes, but I don't know any, really. I was a big fan of Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z, and Naruto. If there's any that I would really buy to get into and rewatch, I'd love to rewatch Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, which was, I really enjoyed that one. And Full Metal Alchemist is one that I always kind of watched on Adult Swim that I really want to get into. So I want to get that and watch some of the movies that they have. And I know people are weird about which series to watch. I'm very interested in it because I always liked it, but I could never watch it all together. So that's something I'm probably going to be buying on DVD for sure, is Full Metal Alchemist. And what's your favorite taco? I prefer burritos. Moving on, Fatboy Gaming, what is your job and what's your favorite sport? Somebody else also asked that I mentioned that I work a lot of hours, and they asked what I do for a job. And before I get to that, I want to answer what is my favorite sport. I'm not a big sports guy. I don't really care for team sports like football, basketball, baseball, yada, yada, yada. And they aren't really big here in the US, but I think all of my foreign subscribers will really understand it, that I'm a big track and field fan and a big weightlifting fan, as in Olympic weightlifting, like the sport. I did track and field for 5 years. I've been lifting for a long time, but I like Olympic weightlifting, doing clean snatch, squats, all that good stuff, clean and jerks. That's something that I've always gravitated to more. Individual sports. I did long distance for a little while in track, and then I threw discus for the last 2 or 3 years. But that's just what I've always gravitated towards. I don't keep up with anything really, and I don't compete anymore. I was training to compete last year, but it is very time consuming, and it was expensive and very time consuming. It's not something that I can afford to really do now, and I found a different outlet that I really enjoy, which is doing YouTube. So now I lift a little more casually, and I still train, just not as intensely. But I do like track and field and weightlifting. And as for what do I do for work, what is my job? I am an EMT. I work in EMS, Emergency Medical Services. I work on an ambulance with my paramedic partner, and we run 911 calls, help taking care of people, whatever it may be: stub toe, bloody nose, heart attack, stroke, traumatic injuries, vehicle accidents, all that good stuff. That's what I do for a living. And I work 24-hour shifts, so there's not a lot of time, a lot of free time for me to do a lot of things in the week, because I end up working usually like 72 hours a week. It's very draining. The job has a lot of pros and cons and ups and downs. A con is that it's 24-hour shifts. A pro is that I have the next 2 days off for sure. So basically every day off work is a weekend for me, because I know I have 2 days off to do whatever. But that's usually what I do. And I'm currently exploring other job fields, maybe outside of medicine. But I'll keep you guys updated on that. I may not be doing EMS much longer. I've been doing it for over 2 years now, and it is a very love-hate job. It's just it can just be a little draining. And I could switch to go do 12-hour shifts, but that doesn't really make up for much more time. So yeah, that's what I do. I work in EMS. I work a lot of hours. It's an average of like 56 hours a week in the month, but it's like 72 hours for a couple of weeks, and then 48 hours every third week or something like that. It's a lot of hours though, a lot of work. Moving on, Alejandro Diaz asks, hey man, I love your videos. My question is, who would be able to replace Zack Snyder if Justice League is a repeat of Dawn of Justice? Goes on about his feelings about Batman v Superman, and how he kind of hopes that they take a 1080. Anyway, who would I think to replace him? That's tricky. I'll stick with I wrote down a couple names. I'm going to stick within the Warner Brothers wheelhouse of people that they usually work with. I have Peter Jackson, George Miller, or Ben Affleck. Peter Jackson, just because I absolutely love him. He can handle big stories, big epic storytelling. I love The Hobbits and I love The Lord of the Rings. And he's very close with Warner Brothers. He has a great relationship with them. I know he can tell a good story. So he's just out there. But as far as would he have the kind of passion for characters like Justice League? Who knows? But that's not as important as making a good movie. Also, George Miller, who was going to do a Justice League movie in 2007, 2008, he was going to do Justice League Mortal, and that fell through due to a writer's strike over in Australia, yada yada, whole bunch of stuff. But George Miller, I could see doing it, even though he's made recent comments about thinking, not really just not understanding Superman and thinking he was a boring character who was invincible. But, George Miller's a great director, Mad Max, the guy can do his stuff, but he is getting up there in age. So would they ever get to him around Justice League Part 2? Who knows? And then Ben Affleck, it's Ben Affleck. It's Batman. He's producing, writing Batman, producing Justice League, executive producing. But his style tends to lean towards like a very grounded, realistic crime thrillers, like with Argo and The Town, that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean he can't do other things. It's just I haven't seen him do anything like that sort of style that we kind of need, like a Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. That's like this fantasy, sci-fi, basically, kind of movie. But I think Ben Affleck is a good storyteller, and that's all that's necessary. He knows the characters, and now we have Jeff Johns also working with him. So that could be very interesting. But those are just, 3 names out there. Matthew Vaughn, Brad Bird, a ton of great guys that could get in the director's spot. If Zack was to be replaced on Justice League Part 2, which I think is likely because I don't know I don't think it's been announced officially that he's doing Part 2. Anyway, moving on to Patty Muse. Any aspiration to get into the film industry? If so, which job? Oh, man. What a sad little question this is. I have had aspirations to get into the film industry before. Something that I've always been big on is writing. I love to write narratives. I love to write stories. That's something I've done ever since I was little. I've always really enjoyed it. I've written a lot of short stories to things that could almost be like a book, but they've kind of been lost through time. But I'd like to think I'm a pretty decent writer and I can tell some good stories. So I've wanted to get into script writing, but I know that's very lucrative getting anywhere in Hollywood because you basically have to live in places where you can put yourself out there and be in like that Hollywood type of thing. You have to be somewhere like LA, Chicago, or New York. You have to know people, get on sets, work your way in so people trust you starting from the bottom. And I live in Florida. There's not much going on down here. And to be honest, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I live here with my girlfriend. And, getting into something like that, I don't know. As far as like actual doing something on a movie production, I've always liked the idea of doing like something like cinematography or film editing. I really enjoy that. I've been shooting things and been editing, videos and stuff like that for the last 9 years. I've really been into video editing, so I'm no stranger to any of it whatsoever as far as shooting things and editing them down. But writing is probably where I've always wanted to go. But I think just being involved in production and whatsoever stunt level or anything like that would be a ton of fun. But I really enjoy what I'm doing now, which is just talking about films, doing like film punditry, podcasting, talking about movies in the film industry. That's something I love to do. So, ideally, just throwing it out there, like doing something like what the Schmoes can do or the Collider crew, that is just awesome. That's something that I would love to be able to do for a living. Getting to go out there and interview cast members, directors, writers, that's so much fun. I love that. That's something I think I gravitate more towards now because it's something I found that I really love to do. I love doing this, and I think it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I have had aspirations to get into it, and I'll see what happens. It's a process. And all of that starts here with this YouTube channel, really just getting myself out there and, building this channel and building things with you guys. I love you guys. Moving on to Jose Samuel Palermo. Worst comic book movie of all time. That could be a stumper. I would say something, like Catwoman or Steel. I guess those are too easy. I don't really remember them. And I wish I could say like Batman and Robin, but at least that's really entertaining. I think Batman and Robin is at least so bad it's entertaining, and that it's basically just a 2-hour long toy commercial is what it is. So I don't take it seriously. I know the studio didn't force them basically not to take it seriously, so maybe that. And I'm about to say, like, a movie that I legitimately think is, two movies I think are legitimately so bad that I can't sit through them, and this is gonna piss some people off, but it's my taste in film. It's just how it is. I'm a giant Superman fan. Clearly, you guys know this. I cannot sit through the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. I can't do it. The Richard Donner movies 1 and 2, I've tried to watch both of them. I can't make it through. The cheese is off the charts. They're so cornball. I think they're very dated. I think Christopher Reeve played a very great, 50s, 60s, 70s era Superman. That's not my Superman. I'm very much post-crisis, 1986 and up, what Henry Cavill is and like Man of Steel. That's the Superman that I like. I like the more modern era of Superman. I just can't get through. I can't get through the Superman movies. I can't do it. I don't know why. It's just the cornball and the cheese is just everywhere. It oozes from those movies and I can't handle it. It's not, I don't think they're badly structured movies or anything like that. I just can't get through them. And that's with a lot of movies that are cheesy. I just can't do it. And those are 2 or 3 of the only movies that I cannot sit through and finish, that I've tried to watch. So yeah, that's just how I feel, and I'm sorry that upset some people, but Sam asked a couple more questions. How will you flesh out your channel more? For one, I like doing these Q&As. I think since this is the first one, I'll see how it goes, but I'd like to be able to do more Q&As, maybe like once a month or something like that. And I also started a series a while back called A Closer Look, and I did that with the Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and that's something where we can just, it's a little more relaxed, not quite film reviews, but we can just talk a little more in depth about a series, a director, an actor, or something like that. Usually like trilogies, where we can just talk about our own, experiences and stories with those movies and look at them, not just quite as critically, but just kind of, overviewing them and having some fun and relax and talking about them. And there's also a series that I want to start later called Midnight Movie Pitch. I think that should sound pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to take like a dream team, dream director with a film that I think that I think could be good, and I want it to be made. And without it, having a possibility of being made, just throwing it out there, putting a story together with a director and characters and stuff like that. And I have a couple of ideas that I've wanted to do. So yeah, Midnight Movie Pitch is something that I think could be a lot of fun. I'd of course record it late at night because my sleep schedule's all kinds of fucked up, so I'm usually up late hours at night and I get all kinds of ideas to talk about things. So that's something that I think could be a lot of fun. And like I said, more Q&As, more videos, all that good stuff. Will you ever look into animated movies? And I'm not totally averted to them. I just don't really check out a lot of I don't check out a ton of the direct-to-video movies, which a lot of them are animated, but if it's something I see in theaters, yeah, sure, I'll talk about it if I go and see it. Probably one I will talk about, however, will be Batman the Killing Joke, for sure. I'll probably end up getting that one. Pixar movies and stuff like that, Lego movies, I do enjoy them. I do enjoy animated movies, I don't really do a lot of direct-to-animated, or direct-to-video kind of ones. Do you think Suicide Squad will outgrow Batman v Superman? If the hype and the positive reaction from, fans and audiences, like looking at the trailers, if it continues with the same level of hype and the movie lives up to that, I think it could outgrow Batman v Superman. Rank Wonder Woman, Justice League, and Lego Batman in the order you think they will make more money to less. Justice League, Lego Batman, Wonder Woman. I think Lego Batman's going to edge out Wonder Woman for the simple fact that it has the child demographic. You can bring like your 3 to 11, 12-year-olds to that movie and they're going to enjoy it every time. So that's a big market, being able to bring your kids to the movie theater. A lot of parents love to do that, so that's where all the money is. Do you think they'll make more money or less? Do you think Justice League Part 1 will be the official title? Don't think so. I think they'll change it up. Will you ever show more of you? I don't know if you mean romantically or on YouTube, but a little bit of both. Yes, you'll get more of me. If you could make an HBO movie based on the DCEU, what movie would it be? Plot, characters, and more? I don't know. As far as a series, because I'm not too big on like what Marvel does with Daredevil and Punisher and Jessica Jones. I know they're all great shows, and I've even enjoyed them myself. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a lot of people like that. I don't know that I want to see TV shows connected with the movies. I like that DC was staying away from that, so I don't know that I want to see an HBO series. But if I could see something maybe redone, God, I love Watchmen. I think it would be cool to do a 12-part miniseries, an hour-long, 12-hour-long episodes of Watchmen for each issue. I think that would be really cool. It really depends. I think there's a ton of great characters you could do. A good Green Arrow, because I really don't like Arrow. A good Green Arrow series that takes place within the movies, that'd be cool. I think Green Arrow's a fantastic character, and he could work really well on television, or even Teen Titans, because you don't need the biggest budget of all time to make a great Teen Titans TV show that's live action. What is your least... Oh, wait. Yeah. What is your least favorite MCU film? Now, I just want to say that I enjoy all of the Marvel Cinematic films to all varying degrees of I like it to I think it's fantastic. And I think a lot of the ones that I just like, that I still really enjoy them all. But Phase 1 is just kind of where I feel the most lukewarm about. I think it would kind of be a tie between the first Captain America and the first Thor, which they both have moments of greatness in them. I may lean a little more towards Thor. I just think the ending, the climax with, the Asgardian Terminator fell a little flat, and something about the desert setting in any movie, I don't like the desert. It's a setting that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't think it's cinematic. Just something about it I just hate. And a lot of Thor took place in this tiny ass town in the middle of the desert. And so seeing this big Asgardian machine come and fight him in a desert in this tiny ass town fell flat for me and left me, not feeling much. And I know there was the ending with Loki and blah, blah, blah. But maybe the first Thor. I think the first Thor started out great, and it has moments of greatness all throughout it. But that would probably be my least favorite MCU film. Moving on, Tony Reyes asks, what is your opinion on Ben Affleck being promoted to executive producer? Could this make future DC films better received by the critics? I think it's a great move having Ben Affleck moved up to executive producer. He has a great working relationship with Zack Snyder, so I think that's really good. And they need somebody, and now we have Jeff Johns basically co-leading the DC films. And so with Jeff Johns being executive producer and Ben Affleck, who all of Zack's pretty much decisions have to go through them too, I think that's a good thing. I think they're both great. Ben Affleck is a great storyteller, and Jeff Johns is a great storyteller, although his medium is more suited to comics. But he knows the characters, he knows the universe, he knows what these movies should be. He doesn't have to be the one that tells the story, but he can tell them what the characters are and some general story beats. But having Ben Affleck on board, it's a tricky, scenario, because if Justice League 1 is great, if it's received so well and so universally loved, which it should be, then does the praise go to Affleck for being in that chair, or does the blame go to Snyder if the movie's bad? So if Justice League is bad, I think Zack Snyder will still get blamed, and if it's good, somehow Ben Affleck will get credit. But I do think it's a good thing, because having talent like that in charge is never bad. And that's all that's really important to me. Vincent Nguyen, sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. Who would you like to see play Darkseid in the DCEU? That's a tricky one. I love Darkseid. I think he's a fantastic villain. I really do. And I think that they could really go like a Colossus route, like what they did in Deadpool, and have a different guy motion capture play him and someone else voice him. And I want classic, definitive Darkseid. I don't want some weird original spin on him. I want Darkseid to be Darkseid from the books. That's what makes him so great. I don't want them to do something like so out of the way and crazy with him. It's not what I want. Give me Darkseid from the books. Please do that, Zack Snyder. And judging off of the parademons alone, that gives me a lot of hope in his Superman and Batman. I think that he will be faithful to who Darkseid is. As long as they get a good guy who can motion capture play him and a great actor with a great voice, I'll be happy. I can't really think of anyone specifically that has like that commanding voice. I don't want Michael Ironside, who voices him in the animated stuff. I don't think he could carry him in a movie. That's just how it is. Walter Johnson, do you think Matt Damon would make a good Hal Jordan Green Lantern? Fuck yes. I love Matt Damon. I love Hal Jordan Green Lantern. I think he'd be great because he's a great actor. He brings legitimacy to anything he plays, any character he ever plays. He's just good. Matt Damon is awesome. And I think that they already know who's going to be playing Hal Jordan. I think they've made their decision. I think we'll probably find out at Comic-Con this year. But it's never a bad idea to get talent, and that's who Matt Damon is. But I'd still like to see him as Hush somehow in the movies. Jackie Estacado asks, hey man, who do you think will be the standout character in Justice League? I think it could be Flash or Cyborg, just in the nature of their fun characters, and those are things we haven't really get to see explored on screen. We've gotten Quicksilver, but we have not gotten Flash. Even the Flash on TV, I think, does some crazy ass, really cool things that aren't shown, that like Quicksilver has done. So visually, we could get some really cool things just because of how absurdly fast the Flash is. I think he has the potential to stand out. But Barry isn't Wally West. But Cyborg is a really fun, heartwarming character, and I think there's a lot of potential in him, especially if they're doing this whole Mother Boxes thing, if the Mother Boxes play a big role, and, you know, if Darkseid comes back. And I think Cyborg is going to be a very important character in Justice League, so I think that's where all his potential comes from to stand out. But, you know, there's a part of me that hopes the return of Superman is like the strong point of the movie, and that I want Henry Cavill to be the strong point. I want him to shine in the movie. I want Superman to get, you know, a great spotlight. But I think it might be Cyborg. Ablert 55 asks, you said you worked tons of hours. Yeah, okay, I got to that one. Waz007 asks, which actors would you cast for Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, or Tim Drake, the Robins, Barbara Gordon, blah, blah, blah? Who would you cast as the Bat Family? Now, I don't think it's official, but Barbara Gordon, it's presumed by everyone to be Jenna Malone, who was cut from Batman v Superman. We'll see her later this year in the Ultimate Cut. I think she could be fine. I think she'll be fine in the movie. I love her. She's a talented actress. I really liked her in the Hunger Games movie. She's... Jenna Malone, that's how I feel about her. But as far as, you know, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, these aren't going to sound like popular or great answers to some people, but there was a rumor going around that Adam Driver would once be Dick Grayson a long time ago, back in the early production of Batman v Superman. I like Adam Driver. I loved him as Kylo Ren. He's a great actor. So I know people want like a pretty boy basically to play Dick Grayson, and that's why I'd say Zac Efron. I think Zac Efron is really good. He's a great actor. He just has chosen to be in some shitty projects, and some people he kind of rubs them off as like being a douche or something like that. But Zac Efron's a great actor. He's a good talent. He just chooses to be in some shitty things, and he's chosen to be in some great things. So I could see him, and if we could get Adam Driver as Jason Todd, that'd be pretty interesting. Tim Drake, Robin. He's my favorite Robin. Maybe get somebody like a Logan Lerman, because I think he needs to be younger. Tim Drake would have to be definitely a younger actor. I don't know that we'll ever see a Tim Drake on screen. I don't know that we'll get him in the movies. So yeah. Last final question. Super Movies ask, who is your favorite film director? This was a tricky question because I love many directors for a lot of varying reasons, and I actually wrote down a couple of names I had to take to my collection for inspiration to look. Clearly, I'm a big Zack Snyder fan. I'm also a humongous Peter Jackson fan. Excuse me. I really adore Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, regardless of what anybody says about the Hobbit. I love them. I think Zack Snyder and Peter Jackson are both extremely detail-oriented, passionate directors. If you have ever watched any of their behind-the-scenes stuff, the passion and just the hard work that these guys put into the movies, it's so phenomenal. I love both of them tremendously. Also, Quentin Tarantino, humongous fan of him. I haven't seen a film of his that I didn't absolutely love. I just watched Django Unchained last night, actually. I absolutely loved Quentin Tarantino. I love his hyper-realism, ultra-violent movies, Kill Bill, all that stuff. He's really, really good. Christopher Nolan speaks for itself. Dark Knight trilogy. I think maybe my favorite work from Nolan is probably Interstellar. I was a big fan of Interstellar. I absolutely loved Hans Zimmer's music on that, but definitely Nolan. David Fincher, I think, has a very distinct style. If you look at something like Zodiac and Gone Girl, Fight Club, David Fincher is so distinct. I love it. I think he was wasted on Alien 3. I'm pretty sure he did that. But I do love David Fincher. I think he's a great, great storyteller. Ridley Scott. He can be a little controversial for some people. I do really enjoy Ridley Scott. You know, Alien and Blade Runner alone, Body of Lies, The Martian. I think he does a lot of great stuff. And I even love Prometheus. Regardless of how people feel about that, I love Prometheus unapologetically. It wasn't supposed to be an alien movie. It's just a movie that takes place within the lore of aliens and xenomorphs, blah, blah, blah. I like it. I love Ridley Scott. I'm glad that he's continuing on making those. Martin Scorsese, speaks for itself, man. The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street. Love his movies. I love that he works with Leonardo DiCaprio so much. And Steven Spielberg, obviously, ton of great hits. Jurassic Park, Jaws, Indiana Jones. I love those. I do. But I think my favorite Steven Spielberg film is probably Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If you have not seen that movie, I watched it for the first time like 2 years ago. Go check it out. Do yourself a favor and watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think that is my absolute favorite Spielberg film. I love that instead of it being a scary movie, a horror, or this creepy film about aliens, it captures, the wonder of aliens, of these benevolent beings from another planet that are nice. And I love that movie. I love the spirit of the wonder that it captured. And that's something that I really love that he's done. But so, yeah, I do like a lot of directors. Of course, Peter Jackson and Snyder, or even Ridley Scott can be controversial. Tarantino. I tend to like controversial movies and controversial directors. I don't know why. That's just where I lean. I don't love everything of Zack Snyder's. I mean, I like Dawn of the Dead. I really enjoy 300. But I love Man of Steel and I love Watchmen. Watchmen's probably my number 2 favorite movie of all time. I love that story. So for those reasons alone, yes, I love Zack Snyder and Peter Jackson. I'll probably make a separate video alone talking about, why I enjoy controversial movies and just a general discussion about controversial movies. So yeah, but anyways, guys, that wraps it up. That is the end of the Q&A. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd like to do this, once every couple of weeks, maybe every month. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So a big thank you for everyone sending in the questions, and a big thank you for, just supporting me along this way. I've cleared over 1,500 subscribers. That just blows my mind. I wanted to get 100 subscribers. 100. I wanted 100 subscribers in the first year, and I obliterated that. I haven't even been doing this a year, and I'm up over 1,500. It's been a ton of fun. I absolutely love you guys, and I couldn't be doing this without you. So yeah, leave your thoughts below. I'd love to talk about anything. I can't wait to do this again, and I'll see you guys on the next video.